This is part of the Mass. Figure that one out. Yeah. Last week we talked about the Creed. This week we're going to talk about the universal prayers. They're also called the prayer of the faithful. So, you hear some people say, oh yeah, this is the prayers of the faithful. You hear other people say, this is the universal prayers. They mean the same thing. Whatever. What's worthy of attention, worthy of note, is that this is a specific time in the Mass dedicated to intercessory prayer, to praying for others. That's important because it's a deeply biblical and Catholic thing to pray for others, to ask God to send His blessing, His grace, His conversion, His healing, His strength to others. And so it's a great mystery, actually, that God has decided in His providence and in His wisdom to reserve particular good things to come about exclusively through prayer. Right? That's just stating the flip side of the truth that you and I hold dearly, which is prayer actually does something. So when we say prayer actually does something, kind of the flip side of that, or like a logically compatible aspect of that statement, is that then God in His wisdom and His providence has ordained certain things to come about only through your prayer and my prayer. That could be one reason why, like, when Our Lady appears, in all these different Marian apparitions, where she's always telling us to pray, it's like, oh gosh, maybe I should do that. So this is the part in the Mass where we do that, where we pray for others, right? We have these intercessory prayers. We're praying for the good of others. And you could suggest, and I think rightly, that actually the whole entire Mass is one act of intercessory prayer. It's also an act of worship, okay? It's principally an act of worship to God, right? Because we'll get to that. It's principally an act of worship to God. But in that, it's also a petition, asking God, in view of the sacrifice of His Son that is offered or represented on the altar, in view of that great and efficacious sacrifice, that we're asking God for particular graces, especially the salvation of others and the salvation of souls, the salvation of our own soul, the salvation of the whole world. So we're asking God for all of these things. And so, you could get kind of meta and be like, oh yeah, the universal prayers are when we're talking about the petitions, and the whole entire Mass is actually one big petition. Whatever. It's worth noting that the Church holds in high regard praying for other people, and that this has a place specifically in the Mass. So it's worth remembering. All right, see ya.